Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for your examination perspective, either it is mains or prelims examination, we'll discuss the entire news. Let's get started with news topic list. Today is 11th of May. The first news is panel wanted changes to sedition law. This was a panel which was actually formed by the Ministry of Home Affairs. We'll see the detail and the recommendations of the panel. Second, more stringent norms for the social media platform. So what are the regulation coming in terms of regulating the social media? We'll see the detail about this as well. Third, Army plan on creation for integrated battle group. Fourth, National Family Health Survey finding on child nutrition and malnutrition. And last is an editorial, food regulation needs to step up at the plate. So we'll see the detail about this editorial as well. Apart from this, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. And just to tell you about the prelims test series, which you can avail at affordable price, 60 high quality test are there. मैंने वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिंक दिए हुए, आप ज़्यादा जानकारी वहाँ से ले सकते हैं और रजिस्टर भी कर सकते हैं इस टेस्ट सीरीज के लिए. So the first news, that is panel wanted changes to the sedition law, something which is relevant for general studies paper 2, structure, organization, function of executive and judiciary, because Supreme Court has also recently taken a note with regards to the sedition law and several plea was filed in the Supreme Court. और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने गवर्नमेंट की ओपिनियन जानने की कोशिश की है कि गवर्नमेंट क्या सोचती है इस पर्टिकुलर सेडिशन लॉज को लेकर के. सो अ पैनल ऑफ एक्सपर्ट from the Committee of Reform in the Criminal Laws have suggested that the reform to the British-era Indian Penal Code has been recommended और ये amendment की ज़रूरत है, ऐसा कहना है कमेटी की जो कि recently formed की गई थी, a year before it was actually being formed by the Ministry of Home Affairs. So they have suggested to make changes on the British-era Penal Code and they have recommended that these amendments would be necessary in due course of time, and this is something which is a need of the hour. ऐसे recommendations हैं. We'll see what are the details coming from the committee. So before I start, let's understand what is the committee details, right? Committee की formations कैसे हुई? Ministry of Home Affairs has constituted a national level committee to reform in the criminal law. This was actually formed in 2020 to examine the section 124A, which is with regards to the sedition in the Indian Penal Code of IPC. तो आईपीसी में इसके बारे में जिक्र है और इसी के बारे में चेंजेस और रिकमेंडेशंस के बारे में कमिटी को एक जो टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस है वो दी गई दैट दे शुड गिव द क्लैरिटी दैट व्हाट बेस्ट कैन बी डन, राइट. सो द कमिटी वाज हेडेड बाय रणबीर सिंह एंड सेवरल अदर मेंबर्स. व्हाई आई हैव नेम्ड द इंडिविजुअल बिकॉज इन मेनी अदर कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जामिनेशन आपसे नाम पूछ लिया जाता है. यूपीएससी विल नेवर आस्क यू द नेम ऑफ अ चेयरपर्सन और एनीथिंग, राइट. The committee has also gathered the opinion online by consulting the expert and collating material for the report to the government. So they have conclusively taken some insights and inputs from all the stakeholders. Now view क्या है expert committee की, उन्होंने अपनी क्या views रखी है Ministries of Home Affairs के सामने. So the panel were largely of the view कि जो seditions है it could be dropped and included in the subset of a wider range of crime committed against the state. And person cannot be made a languish in jail for writing on a newspaper article. Because recently हमने देखा है sedition के charges, अगर आपने किसी article को भी लिखा हुआ है, कोई ऐसे journalist हैं, those who have made videos or reported something were charged with a sedition and they are back in the jail, right? So behind the bars. तो ये ऐसे conditions हैं जो कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने concern raise किए कि अपनी जो अभिव्यक्ति की आज़ादी है, the right to speech and expression cannot be diminished with this laws. So the Supreme Court in its all cognizance has understand that this is something which government should take a note and come up with the formulation of a policy which is actually helping for the citizen, right? जो rule of law है वो implement करने की ज़रूरत है. The committee examined that the recommendation and the changes to the Code of the Criminal Procedure Act सिंप्लीफाइंग क्रिटिसाइजिंग द स्टेट शुड नॉट बी इन्वोक विद द सेडिशंस, और ये ज़रूरी है कि जो गिल्टी माइंड है वो पनिश हो, बट फॉर एक्सप्रेसिंग वन इंडिविजुअल आइडियाज एंड व्यू एंड आइडियोलॉजी वन कैन नॉट बी चार्ज विद द सेडिशन एंड kept behind the bars. Right? So the term sedition is colonial in nature. This is what the committee has noted. And the panel has concluded that sedition can be amended and include the category of crime, जहाँ पे state to protect the sovereignty, integrity and security. तो एक स्टेट की जिम्मेवारी होती है कि वो उस स्टेट की सोवरेनिटी को बनाए रखे, इंटीग्रिटी को बनाए रखे और सिक्योरिटी को बनाए रखे. बट दिस हैज टू बी बैक्ड दैट द रूल ऑफ लॉ, द ड्यू प्रोसेस ऑफ लॉ इज टेकन केयरफुली. Now, the other news, more stringent norms for social media platform. This is important for general studies paper 2. Government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from it, design and implementations. Government is working to bring more stringent norms, जहाँ पे social media platform के लेकर के specifically government focus है, and it aims at increasing the accountability of the content that is there in this platform. जो कंटेंट है, जो डिलीवरी सिस्टम है, जो एक्चुअल में बेसिकली जो पूरी कंटेंट की जो मोटो है उसके बारे में एक कंसर्न रेज की गई है, एंड गवर्नमेंट हैज सेड दैट दे वुड बी कमिंग विद द स्ट्रिक्ट रूल्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म, खास करके उसके कंटेंट को लेकर. द मूव बाय द गवर्नमेंट मे लेड द डाइल्यूशंस ऑफ द सेफ हार्बर रूल्स दैट प्रोटेक्ट द इंटरमीडियरीज फ्रॉम बीइंग लायबल फॉर थर्ड पार्टी कंटेंट ऑन देयर प्लेटफॉर्म. राइट? तो सेफ हार्बर रूल का मतलब हुआ कि बेसिकली एक लीगल बैकिंग, कहाँ पे क्या लीगल प्रोविजंस हैं, वो सारी चीज़ों को कंसिडर करना, एडमिशन करना, एंड इवन टू टेक अ व्यू पॉइंट दैट हाउ बेस्ट सॉल्यूशंस कैन बी डन इन टर्म्स ऑफ रेगुलेटिंग द सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म. The government will soon initiate a discussion with the industries and the stakeholder with a new framework. So it is essentially important to consider all the stakeholders whenever government come up with any rules and regulations. ग्लोबल प्रैक्टिसेस की अगर बात करें इसी ऑनलाइन कंटेंट या फिर सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म पे, तो कंट्रीज लाइक यूरोप, ईस्ट एशिया, मेनी स्टेट्स इन द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका आर मोर हैविंग अकाउंटेबिलिटी ऑन द सोशल मीडिया. बेसिकली इट एम्स टू इंश्योर अकाउंटेबिलिटी हो, whatever has been written, that should be at the top level, and even that should be authenticated by various sources. Right? इंडिया में आपने देखा होगा मीडिया पीपल बेसिकली खास करके यहाँ पे जो डेटा है या फिर जो एक्चुअल डिलीवरी सिस्टम्स हैं लेफ्टिस्ट राइटिस्ट मीडियाज के, वो एक प्रॉब्लम है बिकॉज द डेटा बेस दैट इज बीइंग प्रेजेंटेड टू द व्यूअर इज नॉट एक्यूरेट. तो यहाँ ऑथेंटिसिटी को लेकर के भी काफ़ी चैलेंजेस हैं. Accountability which is applicable in the world like papers and magazine and even for the digital world. So for the foreign countries, for the developed countries, they have every place things in a place जहाँ पे वो papers में, magazines में and even for the digital media they have set an accountability standard. Now legal provisions की अगर बात करें, many countries are moving with the newer legislation जहाँ पे एक नई concept लाई गई है which is called a complete safe harbor, and even the world is trying to move away from that. Now, इंडिया की अगर कंटेक्स्ट में बात करें, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने न्यू आईटी रूल्स लाया था लास्ट ईयर, विच इज समथिंग विच विल हेल्प फॉर द इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी इंटरमीडियरीज गाइडलाइन एंड डिजिटल मीडिया एथिक्स कोड. आई विल गिव यू अ ब्रीफ डिटेल अबाउट द रूल ऑल्सो, सो दैट अगर प्रीलिम्स में कोई सवाल आए यू कैन ईजिली एबल टू हैंडल दिस. सो दिस कैन बी अगेन समथिंग वेरी रेलिवेंट फॉर योर प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन. सो व्हाट वाज आईसीटी, दैट इज the information technology media और ethics code की अगर बात करें, so first it called for a due diligence to be followed by the intermediaries. Second, they asked for the grievance redressal mechanism, which is very important for a country like India, कि आपकी जो grievances है वो properly redress की जाए, उसके addressal हो, ताकि जो भी problem आ रही है उसके एक solution resolutions की तरफ आगे बढ़ा जा सके. Ensuring online safety and dignity of users, especially for the women users. Two categories of social media intermediaries, additional due diligence to follow significant social media intermediaries, and removal of unlawful informations. Now, और अगर इस टेंशन में अगर समझना चाहें जो ये सेफ गार्ड है कैसे मदद करेगी, so social media platform have empowered the ordinary users, but they need accountability against the misuse and abuse. उसके अलावा जो नई रूल्स हैं, this will definitely empower the ordinary users of the social media mechanism to reduce the timely resolution of their grievances. For this timely redressal of the grievances, there is a mechanism, that is the grievance redressal mechanism. Now the rules has also, they are applicable for the digital media and online curative content publishers, which will focus on इन हाउस एंड सेल्फ रेगुलेशन मैकेनिज्म, तो जो उनकी अपनी पब्लिशिंग हाउस है या जो भी इन हाउस वर्किंग कर रही होगी उनके रेगुलेशंस पे भी खासा ध्यान दिया जाएगा. The new rule provide the robust grievances redressal mechanism which will uphold the journalist and creative freedom. So this would also ensure कि जो एक freedom of basically content है वो भी promote किया जाए और जो fake content है उनको रोका भी जा सके. Now, some other parts that is essentially important for you. So the new rule is likely to have a far-reaching implication on the digital media. कुछ अगर impact की अगर बात करें social media पे, social media sites like platform must be taken down on unlawful content and being served either in the court notice or by the government agencies. तो regulations ऐसी होनी चाहिए जो कि पूरी चीज़ों को अच्छे से regulate कर पाए. Now, such platform would be required to identify the first originator of any mischievous information. जो actual information किस जगह से originate हुई है, he would be considered as spreading the misinformation. Now, the social media intermediaries will have to set the grievance redressal, which I have already talked about. तो जो complaint resolution के लिए grievance redressal काफ़ी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. Video streaming के लिए self regulatory body होगी, that would be set up, and even it would be headed by the eminent judge, which is the retired judge. Platform owners के लिए will have to clarify their content according to the decent age group, and they should put everything in place. And information and a broadcasting ministry will establish an interdepartmental committee to hear the grievances. So these are some of the major changes that the government has recently brought in. The social media, digital media और OTT platform को लेकर के अगर बात करें, these are some of the regulation identifying the first originator. ये सबसे अहम चीज़ है. अगर कोई भी एंटी नेशनल चीज़ें हो रही है तो फर्स्ट ऑरिजिनेटर को आइडेंटिफाई करना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ग्रीवांस ऑफिसर, अगर कोई कंप्लेन लॉन्च होती है within 15 days it has to be resolved. File monthly compliance report in terms of the complaint received and the resolution given. OTT platform के लिए कंटेंट को अकॉर्डिंगली रेट की जाएगी अकॉर्डिंग टू द बेसिकली कैटेगरी एंड द एज विच इट कैन बी व्यूड, एंड पेरेंटल लॉक सिस्टम होंगे, एंड इवन एज वेरिफिकेशन मैकेनिज्म शुड बी देयर. फॉर डिजिटल न्यूज़ देयर हैज़ टू बी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन कमिंग फ्रॉम द प्रेस काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, जो केबल टीवी नेटवर्क है उनके एक्ट्स और नॉर्म्स को फॉलो करनी होगी. सेल्फ रेगुलेशन बॉडी टू ओवरसीज एंड अदर्स टू द कोड, and information and broadcasting ministry and their panel will oversight the mechanism. So these are some of all the regulatory procedures that are coming in place in terms of the information technology regulations या जो भी information digital media पे content है उनको लेकर के. Now, Army plan for the creation of integrated battleground, something which is relevant for General Studies Paper 3, various security forces, agencies and their mandate. So according to the Chief of Army Staff, Army is identifying and holding the western front of the strike formation, that is the northern border, that would be converted into agile integrated battle groups, जिनको IGB के नाम से भी जाना जाएगा, right? Now, क्या objective है? Why this decision was taken? So the purpose of restructuring the existing formation into the integrated battle group was to ensure that the forces are in lean, agile, with a tailor-made and affordable commander that is flexible for their employment and respective theaters to achieve the desired outcomes, right? ऐसे outcomes जो कि उस जगह के हिसाब से ज़रूरत है, उस outcomes को achieve करना is essentially why the government has taken this decision. Now, the concept of IBG has already been test-bladed with the Army 9 Corps that was later validated by the 17 Mountain Strike Corps in its exercise. So this is not new to Indian Army. They have already done these exercises जहाँ पे इस तरह की जो integrated battle groups हैं वो बनाई गई है. Now each integrated battle group would have been tailor-made. It would be based on the threat, terrain and task that would be resource. उसके हिसाब से इनको allocate की जाएगी. 3 T's रखी गई है: threat, terrain and task. So the idea behind this is to light the certain centralized logistic part that is able to mobilize within 12 to 48 hours based on their locations. तो एक reachability, quality improvement के लिए भी ये सारी चीज़ें ली गई. IBG will also be differ from basically इनकी जो actions होगी वो defense करने के लिए भी होगी, and it would act as an offensive to the other counter group also, which is creating problem for India और border areas में किसी region पे. Proactive doctrines की बात की गई है. After the terrorist attack in the parliament, the Indian military undertook massive mobilizations of the army, जहाँ पे formalizations के तौर पे बहुत सारी important reforms induct की गई सारे paramilitary forces में. Following that, the army has formulated a proactive doctrine, which is also known as cold start to launch offensive, but its existence was declined in the past. तो कुछ ऐसी important चीजें हुई and even some amendment was also been made. But in due course, it is very important that we should always keep in mind that strengthening the force mentally and physically is very important for a country like India. Now, greater punch की अगर बात करें, what is a great integrated group? मैंने आपको बताया it's a brigaded division which is formulated comprising the existing element of infantry, tank and regiment, जहाँ पे UAV engineer, signal सारे लोगों को integrate किया जाएगा. Will have a 6 battalion infantry arm and artillery with placed under the corps. And each IVG will have a different on the basis of their threat and the terrain and task. So 3 T's are there which they would be working, and it will ensure the better integration of self-sufficiency, जहाँ पे एक formation होगी to strike better and harder in the border areas. And a brigade during the hostile will have to wait to be augmented on the different types of unit which increase the time to mobilize. So efficiency, proper functioning with all the best possible efforts. So the government has come up, basically the Indian Army has come up with the integrated battle group which will help in the longer run to secure and protect our border areas. The National Family Health Survey finding on child nutrition will see the state performance also, और क्या actually report के बारे में details है. Something which is relevant for General Studies Paper 2, issues related to development and management of health. So recently, National Family Health Survey के report जो 5 है, NFHS 5, they have found that 89% of the children between the formative age, which is 6 to 23 months, do not receive minimum acceptable diet. जो एक minimum acceptable diet होनी चाहिए वो भी इन बच्चों को नहीं मिल पा रही है. This is a concern that has been raised in the survey, and this is only marginally better than 90.4% recorded in the NFHS, right? जो previous से बहुत ही marginal improvement देखी गई है. Now this report look into the adequate diet of both breastfeeding and non-breastfeeding children till their reach of 2 years. जब तक वो 2 साल की नहीं हो जाए तब तक ये चीज़ों को मॉनिटर की जाती है. Now, alert on malnutrition. Basically, India is a country which has the highest malnutrition burden in the world, and India is also the one country which has highest repository of all the food grains. तो ये विडंबना है हमारे देश की, जहाँ पे FCI के गोडाउन्स में इतनी ज़्यादा भरमार है, the adequate amount of wheat and rice is there, but at the same time, the malnutrition is highest in the world. So these are some of the strange things that the country is facing because of the deficiency in programs and policy implemented at both the legislative level or administrative level. Now deficiency की बात करें, deficiency in diet for the children in the formative year had directed bearing in the malnutrition, और minimum acceptable diets भी जो हैं वो बच्चों को नहीं मिल पा रही है. And the child need at least 4 to 5 grain indicated by the WHO to have a minimum acceptable diets. तो कम से कम उनको 3 से 4 फूड आइटम चाहिए होंगे, तभी उनकी जो डेली रिक्वायरमेंट है विटामिन्स और मिनरल्स की वो पूरी हो पाएंगी. Now only 25% of children has received the dietary diversity and 35% of children has received the adequate milk frequency. So this is the data, and NFHS has also found that access to minimum acceptable diet in the children category, अगर अर्बन एरियाज में बात करें तो ये सिर्फ 12.1% है, और रूरल एरिया में ये नंबर्स और डिक्रीज हो जाती है बाय 10.7%. सो इतने लोग ही हैं जिनको मिनिमम एक्सेप्टेबल डाइट मिल पा रहा है. नाउ स्टेट परफॉर्मेंसेस की अगर बात करें, अमंग ऑल द स्टेट्स एंड यूनियन टेरिटरीज परफॉर्मेंसेस डिफर की हैं. हाईएस्ट अगर एक्सेप्टेबल डाइट की बात करें, मेघालय इज परफॉर्मिंग वेल एंड द लोवेस्ट इज देयर इन यूपी एंड गुजरात, राइट. आई विल टेल यू कौन से और स्टेट्स ने अच्छे परफॉर्म किए. देयर इज अ डेटा. So for 2015 and 16, the proportion of child in this category stood up to 5.2%. इस कैटेगरी में गुजरात के लिए 6.1%. Now let's look कि कौन कौन से ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं जो बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग है. मेघालय फॉलोड बाय सिक्किम, केरला, लद्दाख एंड पुडुचेरी. सो ये कुछ ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं विच आर परफॉर्मिंग वेल, और जो मिनिमम परसेंटेज ऑफ अमाउंट जो न्यूट्रिशन के लिए ज़रूरत है फूड, वो इन स्टेट्स में मिल पा रही. वर्स्ट परफॉर्मेंस में मैंने आपको बताया गुजरात एंड यूपी इज देयर. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट देयर आर मेनी अदर स्टेट्स. ऑल द लिस्ट आर हियर. यू कैन पॉज दिस वीडियो एंड यू कैन रीड आउट द नेम ऑफ द स्टेट्स. परसेंटेजेस ऑल्सो गिवन, राइट. तो ये कुछ ऐसे स्टेट्स के नेम हैं अकॉर्डिंगली टू द परसेंटेज जिनकी परफॉर्मेंस काफ़ी पुअर है. नाउ WHO रिकमेंडेशंस की अगर बात करें, WHO ने रिकमेंड किया है दैट डिफाइन दैट एसेंशियल फूड ग्रुप. उसमें कुछ important food items mandatory किए गए like cereals, millet, pulses, milk and milk products that should be the part of a daily diet, which also include green vegetables and other vegetable and fruits, right? जिसमें fat oils हो, fish हो, egg हो, and other meats and sugar should be the part of it, out of which 4 to 5 every day are required to prevent the malnutrition. तो ये जितने food items हैं इनमें 4 to 5 items mandatory होने चाहिए हर एक इंडिविजुअल चाइल्ड के पास, which is not the case in India. The reason being the malnutrition is high. Now moving to the editorial of the day, this food regulator needs to set up at the palate. This is with regards to the Food Safety Authority of India, written by K.R. Antony. He is the independent monitor of National Health Mission and the former director for the State Health Resource Center at Chhattisgarh. Important for General Studies Paper 2, that is government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementation. Now I'll be simplifying this editorial by 5 important subheads, that is the background, health concern, threshold limits, package labeling, and conclusion. So the entire editorial focuses upon the food regulation and the Food Safety Authority of India, right? So when it comes to policy making, milestone, millions of people in India have seen that health and safety is something which should be taken into consideration, और एक साइंस की बैकिंग की जरूरत पड़ती है before we generate any systematic evidence or any systematic research. So every idea has to be backed by science and evidences. But even in India, Food Safety Authority of India, जो कि regulatory body है, जो कि health और safety foods को लेकर के country में सारी चीज़ों को regulate करती है, constituted by the government of India as a very important body in India. तो उसके लिए कुछ suggestions दी गई है editorial में, we'll see that also, right? So it should be impartial and uninfluential in terms of giving the food industries which has a control and regulate. So बात की गई है कि फसाई को अपने स्टैंडर्ड में, अपने रूल्स में, अपने प्रोसीजर्स में किसी भी तरह से कॉम्प्रोमाइज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. नाउ हेल्थ कंसर्न्स की अगर बात करें, द कंजप्शन ऑफ जंक फूड दैट इज हाई इन कैलोरीज, वॉट एवर जंक फूड यू ईट, वेदर इट इज पिज्जा, बर्गर और एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ जंक फूड्स, वो हाई कैलोरी फूड होती है जिसमें शुगर कंटेंट भी हाई होती है, फैट भी कंटेंट हाई होती है, एंड इवन सॉल्ट कंटेंट आर हाई. तो इसके रिपरकशन क्या होते हैं? आप ओबीज होते हैं, यू गेट इनटू द कैटेगरी ऑफ ओबीज. फॉर दोज ऑफ यू यू डोंट नो कि ओबेसिटी कैसे कैलकुलेट करें, देयर इज अ बीएमआई कैलकुलेटर विच इज ऑल्सो नोन एज बॉडी मास इंडेक्स. सो मेक श्योर आपकी जो बीएमआई है वो 25 से 24 से कम हो एक्चुअली, राइट? तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप अपने बीएमआई को भी रेगुलेट करें, राइट? एंड यू शुड ऑलवेज चेक योर वेट विच इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. तो एडोलेसेंस एज में ओबेसिटी, इंसुलिन की इनसफिशिएंसी एंड इवन डायबिटिक, हाइपरटेंशन और कार्डिक रीनल डिजीजेज जो हैं इंडिया में बढ़ रही हैं. So the government need to regulate the productions in terms of marketing and availability of unhealthy food, which is taking a toll, और इसे regulate करना काफी ज्यादा जरूरी. Now threshold limits की अगर बात करें, as per the WHO, it has issued a threshold limit for sugar, salt, fat and calories, which is 100 grams processed food, जहाँ पे 100 ग्राम of liquefied vegetable bottles के लिए भी rules regulation बनाए गए. So the technical group of the Food Safety Authority of India has evaluated the food products. उन्होंने evaluation किया और ये पता चला कि जो Indian supermarket में foods हैं, among them 96% of the foods for one component has 62.8% of the 3 components which is mentioned by the WHO threshold. तो इतने food items थे जिनके threshold limits काफ़ी ज़्यादा बड़े हुए. So for you it is very important, you are the aspirants, those of you who are watching this video, make sure to have a good food, healthy practices, because don't make your stomach a dustbin. It is very important that you take care whatever you are eating, that should be healthy, nutritious. For being a taste change, आप अलग अलग food item taste कर सकते हैं, but that should be also very limited quantity. If that is healthy, there's no issues. If it is unhealthy, please cut down the number of items that you are using. Now, package labeling की बात की गई है. Front of package warning is there. This is what the initiative that was already come up by the Food Safety Authority of India. But इसमें star rating की भी बात की गई है, which was not feasible. I'll discuss that also. तो ऐसे food item जहाँ पे जो उनकी front labeling होती है, वहाँ पे consumer को ये पता हो कि whether this is healthy or not. तो सारे details apart from back, it should be mentioned at the front. This is what the detail, the recommendation is also coming from the expert committees. Now, conclusion की अगर बात करें, the Food Safety Authority of India cannot go ahead with the draft regulation based on the highly contested design, जहाँ पे yet still peer reviewed नहीं हुई है। और अगर स्टार रेटिंग की बात करें, स्टार रेटिंग जो हेल्थ स्टार रेटिंग है, that can again create a problem, right? We want the complete detail of the food item, the essential nutrients, vitamins, fat which is there. Only star rating can be a gimmick and it can impact our consumer. So the FSI should be impartial and influential by the same food industry which has to control and regulate. So being the most powerful body in India to regulate the entire food industry, it is very important for FSI to come up with such a regulation which is helping them in a longer run and even imparting a good health to the citizen of this country. Right? So this is how the conclusion can be written in your mains examination. Moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, also the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice, आपको बताना है making peace with nature has been published by United Nations Environment Programme, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Food and Agriculture Organization, World Wildlife Fund for nature. So you have to check for the correct answer. Second, vertical launch short range surface to air missile. It is an indigenously developed missile by DRDO. It is capable of neutralizing the aerial threats at close sea, including the sea skimming targets. Do check it out for the correct options. I'm just giving you a hint. These are the topic that is again relevant. और आपको इससे ज़्यादा इससे रिलेटेड और भी जो टॉपिक्स हैं वो भी पढ़ने पड़ेंगे to ensure that you are getting selected in the upcoming prelims examination. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.